in this book called 365 Days Silence of Mind. And I'd like you to take these words into that space that we just opened, into your heart. We shall be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. These are the words from 1 Corinthians 15, 51 through 52. Says that the only thing that can bring love, joy, peace, and prosperity to the world is a direct experience of the invisible. We must sense the immediate presence of life. With simplicity and directness, we must sense that the Spirit is at the center of our own lives. We must learn to recognize that it is at the center of all people and working in human affairs. While it is true that the power of God is always within us, it is not true that we have always realized its presence. To realize this is to be able to make conscious use of it and to direct it for ourselves and for others. And so we close the sacred text. So, many of you know that I have spoken here in the past and that I love being here. And I miss you. And I feel your energy, though. For you support me in so many ways and across the miles. Like Mike and I live in Denver, Colorado, if you haven't read that. But yet Minnesota, and especially this community right here, holds my heart. And so I made a phone call to Carol and says, it's time for me to come home. I need my family. I need what you guys give me, so much of that love, that energy, that support. But I went through a healing last year, a physical healing. And I'm not going to talk as much about that right now. I'll talk more about that in the workshop this afternoon. But it changed me. But I want to share some things that I learned. And I did a lot of reading. As my body was filled with infection and doctors were, threatening me with my life and, cutting off my leg and, just fun things to make you think, and so I do what I love to do, and I turn to God, and I turn to friends, and I turn to, I turned with him. But I also turned to a writer called Bernie Siegel. And in Peace, Love, and Healing, he mentioned a book called Beyond AIDS. And I had to get online and immediately ordered this book. This is a story that was written by two gay men in the 1980s. It's the story of how they also healed their bodies. They went on a journey, just like we each go on a journey with whatever comes into our lives. But they brought up something that just went zing. And it was, are you shooting the messenger? And it's this idea that everything that is in our life is a message. It's here for a reason. It's here to guide us. Whether it looks like the loss of a job, the loss of a family member, the loss of a relationship, or maybe it's the welcoming of, a new relationship. Maybe it's a new friendship. Maybe it's a new job. Maybe it's another way to possibly make money. We never know if we don't listen. If we don't take that opportunity to question, to welcome, and to say thank you. So many times we decide just to do life on autopilot. It's like, yeah, I'm just going to go along and allow things to be just as they are. And so, that's not a healthy place to live from. It's not a place to create from. Creation comes from consciousness. Creation comes from knowing us. And so creation implies that you're involved, that you are taking a look at life, and you may be saying yes to it, but you also may be saying no to it. We have choice. It's not just this way or that. It's taking it deeper. It's taking it to a place where we're looking at, why is it here? What is the gift in this? And I know a few of you know that this has been an amazing week for me. My father passed away on the 16th. We had his funeral, a Catholic funeral that lasted for 2 days. And, I haven't been a practicing Catholic for quite a while, but my father was. And my father loved his faith. And my father also loved life, which is why he hung on to it so desperately for 2.5 years while he was in hospice. As he said daily, why won't God let me come home? And in fact, just a month ago, he asked my brother, he says, I want to see my death certificate. And my brother looked at him and says, Dad, I can't produce that for you. You haven't died yet. And my dad says, but I want to know what day it's going to happen. So he was consciously involved in his life and in his death. And my brother and I have been partnering with him for 2 years, for these past 2 years. And it's been amazing to watch. He was 96 years old. But his, he kept losing or letting go of faculties that kept him actively involved in life. And so he wasn't able to walk anymore. And so he kind of sat in his chair most days, but he was still able to go to the bathroom by himself and, participate. He had a full-time caregiver there. But it was as I watched him that I began to question even more some of the lessons I learned in my own healing. That, I was a daughter that, predominantly put other people first. And I already had become aware of the fact that I needed to pay attention to this. I needed to pay attention to, why was I doing that? And I needed to pay attention to the fact that it's okay for me to love me, to honor me. And so that's why I'm here today, is because I love me enough that I wanted to keep my commitment to this community and to myself, to come and reconnect, that I wasn't going to give my power away to this thing called death. And, I was Daddy's girl. I enjoyed the walk that brought me to his bedside. And had the joy and the fun of, I have a friend that loved my dad also and has a mother that's on a very similar journey, but she offered to come to my dad's house and to do a tuning fork ceremony that would, just because the family had been under a lot of stress for the last week. And so she brought a book called The Next Place, which was a very healing book that talks about, where we're going. So I sat on the bed and I read this aloud to my husband, my brother, and the caregiver, as well as listening it to myself, and knowing that, hearing is kind of the last faculty that doesn't go, in those last hours. And so knowing that, this would also, my father was hearing this also. And so I read out loud, and then she took her tuning forks and she brought that sound, that vibration into the room. And she did her ceremony, her piece. And as she came to an end, she came over and stood behind me, put her hands on my shoulder. And my dad took his last breath. And so then, came the fun of experiencing, the phone calls and the condolences. But people wanted me to be sad about death. And death is a beautiful messenger. I didn't want to shoot that messenger. I wanted to embrace it. And so I kept telling people, let me experience the joy. My Father's at peace. In many ways, I'm free. I no longer have to live up to those expectations that I had put into my head. My parents didn't say, you have to believe this, you have to accept that, you have to know that you're not enough, that you're not ever going to be able to expand and grow and be the woman that you think you are. You can't be that powerful. They did not tell me that in words, but they sent those messages. And I took those messages and I let them go deep into my essence. And I live those messages. That's why, I turn down opportunities to expand and to grow in ways that sometimes I knew would have been better for me. I took those messages and I attracted relationships that didn't work to help convince myself that I was not good enough, that I was not enough. And that's what these two gentlemen found out. They found out that they had embodied messages. They had embodied the anger of people that couldn't accept their lifestyle. And they had, they were living in the gay world, and they were actively doing things to participate in their own unfolding. They were drinking, they were abusing food, they were refusing, even though they was in an intimate relationship themselves, they also had multiple sex partners. Because they couldn't believe that there could be just one answer. They kept searching for their own way. And then AIDS took over. And it was like, whoa. But they somehow had put into place that they would listen. They would take a breath. And so all of a sudden, people like Edgar Casey books, started appearing. They went to Mexico to buy some drugs. And when they was in this community, who was lecturing? Just down the street. Louise Hay. And so they attended that. They began to talk to each other. They began to take a look at, what am I holding on to? George had a relationship with his dad that, was very, very tough. But he realized that a lot of that toughness he had created himself. Because he had listened to people, to society, say that your family won't accept you because you're different. And so he had to heal that belief that kept him separate. They had to find a connection to their higher power. They had to open their hearts, their minds, and their lives to something different. Here, every Sunday, you read principles. I read those principles this morning. I practice those principles. There is a richness that this church has developed through those principles. So I encourage you, each and every one of you here in this room, to take another breath and to look at your own life. What's showing up for you? Where did it come from? And don't ask, why is it here? Ask, what is the gift? How can I grow with this? How can I be a freer, more peaceful individual through facing whatever this fear is that's bubbling up inside? And saying, okay, I get it. In here you speak the words. We affirm the moral responsibility of individuals and that we make our own happiness or unhappiness as we obey or disobey nature's physical and spiritual laws. So I am here to tell you that what I learned is that God loves me. That God is so excited about the fact that I exist. That it expresses through me. And I have to stop telling God that I am less than what it created. I have to trust that I am here by divine design. I am here to laugh, to play, to expand, to grow, to be that which God loves. And so I release and let go now. And I give that mantle to you. So take it, embrace it, grow with it, and be it. God loves you, and so do I.